Hi, my name is Lily and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a really fun thing that I like to do. I did this last time with a musical Hamilton and now I'm going to do it with The Greatest Showman. And what I'm going to be doing is telling you what books remind me of all the characters in The Greatest Showman. Now, The Greatest Showman has a lot of different characters and I really love that about The Greatest Showman, but that means I won't be covering every single character. I'm going to be covering the main ones who sing the most, who have the most sort of screen time, I guess you could say. So apologies if some of your favourite characters don't feature, but I was just trying to slim it down a bit so I wasn't here doing like 50 different characters. The Greatest Showman is a kind of musical retelling that's a bit fantastical about the life of P.T. Barnum and how he set up his circus. It kind of romanticises P.T. Barnum's life and paints him out to be a bit more of a friendly and gregarious presence than he really was in real life, but it is still a fun musical and I really enjoy it. The way I kind of describe it is, it's so bad it's enjoyable. Like, I don't think it's particularly good. There's, to me, a lot of the songs sound the same, but they're fun songs, so it's a really fun watch. So let's see what books remind me of each of the characters from The Greatest Showman. First up, of course, is P.T. Barnum. In the musical, P.T. Barnum is portrayed as someone who's very fun and gregarious and charismatic at the beginning and is all for everyone and wants to bring everyone into this dream that he has. But over the musical you start to see that he's actually a little bit darker and has more of a selfish side and becomes very focused on his goals to the detriment of others in his life. And there is a fictional character that reminded me a lot of this, and that is the Darkling from Shadow and Bone. Because in the first book, Shadow and Bone, when you first meet the Darkling, he is portrayed as this lovable character who is going to save all of the world, and you know, he's plucked the main character out of poverty essentially and is going to give her this amazing life and wants to give her black robes to represent being part of his sort of inner circle. But throughout the books, and including in the first book, you do find out that actually he's much darker and he kind of becomes the evil presence in the book throughout the series, and I thought P.T. Barnum had a very similar transition in the musical. Charity Barnum is P.T. Barnum's wife, and in the musical we discover that Charity Barnum's family do not support her choice to marry P.T. Barnum, and in fact they cut her off even though they're very wealthy because they think she's making a bad choice. And it becomes this kind of forbidden love story about choosing the person you really love and about chasing your dreams despite what your family say. And a book that I read recently that really reflects that for me is American Panda by Gloria Chow. In American Panda, May is sort of being pushed down the path of going to pre-med by her parents, but in fact she is not a fan of medicine at all, and she really struggles with blood and bodily fluids and anything kind of gross to do with medical fields, which is a bit of a problem. And instead she actually really loves to dance. And also her parents have very strict rules on who she and her brother, who has since been disowned, can date, and she starts to fall for a Japanese boy, which is not allowed because of the Japanese invasion, so her mum still bans Japanese boys from the house essentially. So the reason this reminds me of Charity Barnum is because of that disbarment and abandonment by the family because of the choice to follow your dreams and to love the people that you love. Philip Carlisle, played by Zac Efron, is down in his luck and is starting to fall from grace. He comes from a very wealthy background and has been involved in a lot of theatre, but he is an alcoholic and he is causing a lot of rifts within his family and within his social circles. So when P.T. Barnum asks him to join his freak show, it's sort of like asking him to encourage that fall from grace. But in the end it works out okay for him. And a book that kind of gave me those similar vibes is And I Darken by Kirsten White. This is major spoilers for this book. In the book, Lada and Radu betray their best friend in secret, leading to his fall from grace. He loses his position as, is it emperor? Is that what they call it? The equivalent of the emperor. I've forgotten what the word is in the empire, but I think he's the emperor. They cause him to sort of lose his position as the leader of the empire, but it also will be down to them to build his reputation back up so he can become the leader once again. I think that reflects the relationship between P.T. Barnum and Philip Carlisle in the musical. Anne Wheeler, played by Zendaya, breaks a lot of boundaries in The Greatest Showman, and what I really liked about her character is that she's got a very strong head on her shoulders, but she still wants to love and be in a relationship with Philip Carlisle, despite the fact that in the era that they live in, their mixed race relationship would not be supported by most of the population. But they decide to show the world that they are in love anyway, and to find strength in each other despite the discrimination they are faced with. A book that reflects that is Finn and Rye and Fireflies by Harry Cook. This is an LGBT romance book, and rather than it being about a mixed race relationship not being accepted, it's about a gay relationship between two teenage boys not being respected by the community and them being discriminated against for it, including one of them being sent to a conversion therapy school. So I thought this had a good similar vein to Anne and Philip's story, because they continue to try and date in secret and also to be open with the world about the fact that they love each other, despite the fact that they are getting lots of homophobic comments and one of their parents is trying to send them to conversion therapy. When Jenny Lind is introduced, she seems kind of non-offensive, I guess you could say. She is a singer from Europe, and she is going to make P.T. Barnum lots of money by taking her on a tour around America. But of course, P.T. Barnum somehow manages to lead her on and make her think that there's something romantic between them when there isn't. And when he rejects her, she becomes a woman scorned and kisses him on stage in front of all of those cameras so that Charity will see. And there's only one book I could really pick for a woman scorned kind of a vibe, and that is Vengeful by V. Schwab, because Vengeful is just all about the fact that you do not want to cross a woman scorned. In Vengeful, the main character, Marcella Riggins, is, well, she's almost murdered by her husband, who is a gangster, and she survives, has a near-death experience, and it gives her the ability to burn people, I think, because he tried to burn her to death, so I think she has the power to set fire to things or something. It's something to do with fire. It's really grim either way. She is a woman scorned, and her anger and ferocity really is the centre of this book, and I think Jenny Lind really encapsulates that woman scorned vibe. Lettie Lutz is the wonderful bearded lady of the troupe. She is a star of the show with her beautiful singing voice and her unusual appearance, and what her whole character really is, it's all about finding yourself and being true to yourself and allowing the world to see it. And, you know, she has the most amazing song in the whole of the musical, all about that. And one book that really encapsulates that is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atter. In The Black Flamingo, it was all about Michael finding himself and eventually coming out on stage as a drag queen. And I think that whole letting the world see you as you want to be really matches up with Lettie Lutz's character. Tom Thumb is a much more of a side character than the other characters we've talked about so far. He is the little person that is hired by P.T. Barnum to ride a horse around, and I can't remember what his role is. But what really strikes me about Tom Thumb's character is at the beginning of the musical, Tom Thumb is in hiding because of how he looks and because of the ridicule that he faces, but through his job with P.T. Barnum and throughout the musical, he learns to use what people make fun of him and are scared of him for to his advantage. And a book that really reflects that is Splinters of Scarlet by Emily Bain Murphy. Because in Splinters of Scarlet, people with magic are kind of feared a little bit because they essentially freeze from the inside out when they use their magic over time. In the book, there is a very wealthy family who hire lots of people with magic to use their magic in the household, and these people are now making wonderful lives for themselves by using their magic, which is what people were scared of them for. One final character I wanted to cover is W.D. Wheeler, who is Anne Wheeler's brother. You might be frowning at me because you don't recognise that, and that is the whole point of me including his character, because I think they focus so much on Anne Wheeler that W.D. Wheeler became sort of forgotten. And a book that really reflects forgotten siblings is The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. In The Lovely Bones, Susie Salmon is murdered by a sort of serial child murderer, and that then means that her two siblings kind of fall by the wayside because of her parents' grief. and I thought that really reflects how W.D. Wheeler is forgotten by the musical, because the romantic relationship between Anne and Philip is much more sensational and interesting than anything W.D. Wheeler seemed to be involved in. So those are all of the characters that I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you really enjoyed seeing what books I thought of for each of the characters and what kind of essence they all gave me. If you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments, and also let me know if there's any other musicals or TV shows or anything you would like me to do this books for characters for. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a like and consider subscribing to see more from me. That's it for today. Thank you. Bye.